Hi, everyone. I'm excited to introduce our next founder, Keri. She's the founder of ONAИ. She is solving a large problem in the fertility space, and she's going to dive into the details of that much needed solution. But one of the thing that really struck me about Keri when I first met her is has this unique perspective from a founder. One, she's got, you know, 10 plus years of experience working in the corporate space building teams, but really she built this solution for herself. She is customer kind of number one. She was in the space. She saw how this was a huge problem that needed to be solved. So she built this. She's the customer that she built it for. She deeply, deeply understands it. And that gives her a superpower that I've seen. I've seen as she's dealt with product questions with her, developers. She understands how to build something for her customer. I've seen it as she's forged relationships with clinics, and I've seen it as she's engaged in conversations with large industry, potential, partnerships. So I'm very, very excited to, bring her to tell you more. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Christine. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Carmen, and I am the co-founder and CEO of ONAИ, where we are making fertility care intelligent. I'm here because of a very personal story. The fertility system failed me, and it's failing millions of women around the world right now. And this is happening because the moment a woman realizes she cannot get pregnant and goes to the doctor's office, medication and treatment starts with no assessment of her body. And doctors are assuming that her body is ready for treatment. So she jumps right in, and 78% of IVF cycles fail. And despite all of the advancement in the fertility space, that number has not moved in decades. And the reason is because, again, they're not looking at the body and asking the question. The most important question is she ready? What would happen if we could change that? What could happen if we assessed her body and optimized her body before she went into treatment? That is what ONAИ was built to do. I did everything fertility care told me to do, and it still didn't work. I went through 26 rounds of IVF. For context, most women do a max of 2 to 3. I spent over $500,000 for them to fail. And my diagnosis, unexplained infertility. And every time it failed, the doctor said, try again for 26 cycles. And that broke me after 6 years. And then it lit something in me, because unexplained is not good enough. It's not a diagnosis. It just means no one's looking in the right places. And unfortunately, this isn't just my story. It's the story of 1 in 6 people worldwide who are struggling with infertility. After years of my failed cycles, I realized the signals were always there. What was considered normal is not normal in fertility. As you can see on the screen, 4 examples of some of my personal biomarkers. My CRP, my ferritin, my vitamin D, my pancreatic elastase, all of them extremely out of range, but my doctors told me they were normal. And they were quietly standing in the way of my success, holding me back from implantation failure, compromising embryo development, and preventing key nutrients from getting to my uterus. Every single one of these was visible, every single one was addressable, and every single one was excluded from every single clinical decision across 26 rounds of IVF. These normal labs cost me $500,000, 25 embryos, and 4 miscarriages. Why does this happen? It happens because standard IVF care only assesses one body system in full, which is the uterus. And you'll see that on the bottom right corner. But pregnancy success depends on whole body readiness. You'll see other systems that research has proved over decades the links to their optimization and pregnancy success. So the research and the science is there, but the doctors and the clinics are not connecting the dots across the whole system. Introducing ONAИ, the first fertility readiness engine that tells a woman if her body is prepared for pregnancy before treatment begins. The process is really simple. She uploads the labs, the biomarkers, the biopsy reports, everything that she already has. Within seconds, we give her a transfer readiness report. We help her understand, is her body optimized? What may be quietly standing in the way? And then we provide her with a personalized protocol to close those gaps. We work with her every step of the way, guiding her, informing her, helping her how to ask the right questions and feel empowered and advocate with her clinic. $40 billion flows into the fertility industry every year. $9 billion is flowing into diagnostics, but $0 are connecting biomarkers to IVF outcomes. This is the gap that we're in. We're starting with the 252,000 IVF patients in the US who are paying on average, at minimum, $15,000 to $30,000 per cycle, and most of that is actually out of pocket. The money and the patients are there, the readiness layer is not, until now. So how do we know this works? Well, we ran a paid service. We decoded women's biological readiness for pregnancy, assessing all of the 8 systems. We mapped every root cause, and we turned it into a structured data layer. We had 250 women go through this pilot. It's a one-on-one service business concierge program. We made 200,000 plus in revenue with 0 CAC because it's all organic. And in every single situation, every single woman, we found biomarkers critical to pregnancy success that their clinics did not identify. And every single woman improved those biomarkers within a 3-month period after following our protocol. We've now started to prove it in a digital product, which we've already shipped, and we have a 9.5 thousand person waitlist. We have 1 product and 2 business models that are running in parallel. As mentioned, we started with direct to consumer. The reason for that is because we want the user-led learnings. We want to learn about who she is, how she operates, how she thinks, what she needs. And this gives us the real-world signal that we need to continue to iterate the product. This helped to bring a pharma discussion to the table. We're now in conversation with a top pharmaceutical company where we're going to explore doing a clinical pilot for a 6-month study with publishable results. The idea there is that we can prove over time, first starting with 6 months, that we can have the early signals that show for the first time in decades when a woman's body is optimized, that we can finally move the needle on IVF outcomes to live birth rates. Post the study, those clinics that are already in the pilot would be converted to platform customers. Just those clinics alone would get us to 40 million ARR at 80% margin, and that doesn't include the clinics that we would actually go source that wouldn't be part of the pilot. The market is saturated in tools. Fertility testing, cycle tracking, hormone devices, coaching, but none assess her body's readiness for pregnancy. The white space that you see on the screen, that's real, and we're the only ones standing in it. Bless you. We have a team with decades inside the systems we're trying to fix. Myself and my 2 co-founders, we bring reproductive science, global operations, and repeat founder. Around us, we have engineering, product, finance, digital health, and we have a medical advisor on our board who understands this problem from both sides as a reproductive endocrinologist, so from the clinician side, as well as being an IVF patient herself. We're raising 1.25 million, and the goal of this is to get us to a place of really building that readiness layer. So demonstrating product market fit, proving the clinical credibility with our pilot group, and then proving the data network effects of the readiness layer. We already have the traction. We've already proved the model. This raise puts infrastructure underneath it. A woman should not start an IVF cycle without knowing her body is ready. This is the world that we are building, a world in which she has agency over her body before the most important journey of her life. More than capital, we're looking for partners Partners who don't just see this as a business opportunity, but a moral one. If this resonates with you, we invite you to join our journey.
Amazing job, Keri. Amazing job. One or two questions. I see a couple hands. I'll go for it. Huh? Go ahead and yell.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm William from Case Western. Quick regulatory question.
Oh, great. Yeah.
If you're advising your customers on when it might be best to receive treatment, how are you avoiding being classified as clinical decision support software and being classified as a software as a medical device?
Yep, it's a great question. So we are actually positioning ourselves as an education platform. We are not diagnosing, we are not treating, we are educating her and providing her with the information that she needs to work with her doctor. And because we're embedded in the clinic workflow, we're partnered with the clinicians on the other side. So it's really giving a dashboard to the clinic so they understand, they can see like all of her history in one dashboard, and they understand like what's been done, what needs to be done, what the gaps are, and then they can treat them faster. And then we give her the outputs of her lab results, her test results. What does it mean? What should you know? What are the questions you should be asking your doctor? Things that could help close those gaps. And then it's up to her, obviously, to work with her medical care team to see it to fruition. So as of right now, there's no regulatory HIPAA compliance. None of that is necessary. At some point, because of certainly from an insurance standpoint, that would be the goal, because right now, of course, it'll be covered hopefully with the pharma deal. But ultimately, once that closes, it would be either covered by the clinics themselves or be out of pocket for women. The price point is $99, but still we would love to have insurance pay that. So we'll probably make the transition at some point. But for now, we're just staying as an education platform.
Thank you, Will. Thank you for yelling. Hand over here. Yep, I get it.
Thank you. That was a great presentation too.
Thank you.
I think hearing your personal story was great. Be able to connect the dots. My question is, okay, so you did your test and the woman has her results. She then takes those results to her clinician. What has been the response from the doctors? Have they felt like it was legitimate? Have they thought it was another, like, what did they think she was on Dr. Google? Like, what has been the response from the clinician standpoint to validate these results? Yeah,
it's a really, really great question. First things first, I'll just start with the obvious of like, well, what about chat or Claude, right? Because everyone's, myself included, defaulting to that. And the reality is that, obviously like generative AI is amazing, but it's not personalized, doesn't have your medical history, and doesn't have longitudinal data, which is really important. One of the concerns, in full transparency, that we went into this with is, will doctors resist, right? And so one way that we're going about that is through our channel, through our business models, working with doctors and bringing them in the journey. We also are building a medical advisory board with specialists from every one of the systems that we're supporting, because there is no doctor that looks holistically. And having them on board to make sure that we've got that like clinical backing and whatnot is going to be so important. But to answer your question, I'll give an example. When we first rolled out the software and did our first testing, we had two women, very similar situation, but completely different people. Both of them were in their lab. They were preparing for an embryo transfer. So that's the stage where you have the embryo, you put it in, you hope it sticks, and then hopefully it leads to a pregnancy. In both cases, both of them were in their last cycle. This was it. It's either going to happen or it's not. And one of them was scheduled 2 days later, and one was scheduled a week later. And in both cases, they put all their test results in within seconds. We gave her the readiness report, said, hey, flag, we've got there's a system that's out of range, and this could cause, this could impact your ability to get pregnant. Here's what to write your doctor. It puts out a note that they can copy paste, put in the portal. They both sent it to the doctor. Both doctors actually said, I was shocked, wow, thanks for sharing. We need to pause your transfer. And in one case, the doctor said, I think this is the reason for your recurrent miscarriages over the past few years. So we're seeing really early signals, but the reality is we can't count on that. And so the way that we're getting to it is bringing the doctors in as like co-branding the pilot so that we're building for them with them.
Thank you. And thank you, Keri. One more round of applause for Keri.